Welcome to In the News with Double O Des. I'm Des Bernardo, giving you my perspective on news from South Africa and the rest of the world.
In the news now, I want to cover an article that is 2 days old already, but that I haven't touched on and that I want to clarify in your minds. And this is with regards to the extension of the SASSA grant in an order by the Pretoria High Court to refugees and asylum seekers as well as special permit holders. I just want to explain to you, especially you that don't understand why we would be giving money to people that aren't residents in South Africa, explain to you how the Constitution extends to asylum seekers and refugees within South Africa. And in this headline from briefly.co.za, I'll put the link in the description below the video where you can go and read the rest of the article. The headline reads, the High Court has ordered government to include refugees and asylum seekers in the 350 Rand grant. And many people are concerned that we're actually giving money, which is obviously taxpayers' money, because the government doesn't own any money whatsoever, to people that aren't residents of the country. Now, to explain how this works, the Pretoria High Court or that judge has to uphold the Constitution and the law. The judge does not decide whether the Constitution is good or bad. That decision was made during CODESA when the Constitution was designed and drawn up and was subsequently signed before the 1994 general elections. And the majority of people or their representatives agreed with this. Well, or so it seems. I see that entire process as a complete and utter sham because I don't believe the people of the country were fairly represented at all, and that only New World Order agencies that planned the whole transition was actually in charge of making sure that their best interests would be served in future. But that is a topic for another day. But the New World Order ideology will crawl into everything that happens. And this is certainly something that needs to be questioned. And I will not speak about whether I believe that asylum seekers or refugees should be assisted by South Africans or whether they actually should get money or not. What I want to question is the fact that many South African citizens were excluded from this grant or told that they're not allowed to get the grant or that they don't qualify for the grant after application, when asylum seekers and refugees are actually going to get this grant, or even permit holders. Now, there's obviously a problem with that. In other words, the way the government understands their own constitution and or laws, and all this judge has done is ruled on the Constitution and the law. Now, the judge can decide that a law is unconstitutional, but the judge cannot decide on anything with regards to the Constitution itself. And the Constitutional Court is only there to do one thing: interpret the Constitution with regards to law, because the law has to follow the principles in the Constitution. So if there is a problem with the Constitution, only a 2/3 majority of the Parliament can make changes to that Constitution. And changes we certainly have to make, because this current system is not working for us. This is a prime example where a judge is forced to judge on something, rule on something technical, and cannot apply their mind to whether there is a huge problem with how the Constitution works under these circumstances. Because I can tell you now, when the Constitution was designed, they never thought of a pandemic like this. They can't think about everything. And that is why a Constitution should be malleable, and you should be able to change it and adapt it accordingly. And the same with the laws of the country. All laws of the country need to be tested against the Constitution. And that needs to happen in a High Court or referred further to the Constitutional Court. So in this ruling, the Pretoria High Court has ordered that the 350 Rand COVID-19 South African Social Security Agency Social Relief of Distress Grant be extended to asylum seekers as well as special permit holders. Now, just for you that don't know, under our Constitution, asylum seekers as well as refugees have legal status within South Africa. This is a decision that was made way back then. Many people are not aware of what our Constitution says, and you need to study the Constitution. You yourself, I can't do it for you. Get the Constitution, read it. Maybe I should take time and actually create a series on working through the Constitution and explaining to you what it actually means and what your rights are, and I will certainly consider that. But just understand that this High Court judgment is not the judiciary being hijacked or anything like that. This is a judge applying the rule of law as well as our constitution, whether you believe it's right or wrong, and making a judgment on that. These asylum seekers and refugees were seeking relief, and they received the relief in the High Court. Till the next video.